we just have the name to add to the Mishaberach list.
I always have my pencil here, but it's gone.
Your pencil might have gotten put in this drawer.
That's okay. Nope.
You want to use your pencil?
Nope.
Nope.
It's probably is in my bag. It's okay. I don't need it.
Okay. I was going to say, I grabbed the pencil before and then stuffed it in that drawer when I was done with it. So, okay. Okay, so these are our notes. These we don't need for right now, but we will need later. Oh, this was the pencil I was working with before. I didn't put it back.
Montague is not on page 128.
No, I'm sorry. It's 192. That's the last thing I do is put in page numbers, and I forgot this time around. So yeah, Montague is 192. Okay, we have started the stream. We are live.
Okay.
And one thing I want to do is change the camera view. I would like to move the camera in. I forget how to do that. So we'll push the leave it the way
We can just leave it the way it is.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you for coming. It's wonderful to see everybody here. It's wonderful to see such a big group of people here
For a summer service.
for a summer service. This is great. I had no idea how many to expect. I didn't print enough of the little sheets with the song on it we're going to do during the Devar Torah. But if you picked up one of those sheets when you came in, that's great. And hopefully you can share with folks around you, because I only made 21 copies thinking, that'll be plenty for tonight. And so many extra people have showed up. That's wonderful. Hello to the folks on stream. I apologize. I'm not going to be as good as the rabbi at dealing with all of the things on stream, but we've got the stream working, which 5 minutes ago wasn't a sure thing. So welcome and thanks for joining us if you're on the stream. I'm going to do something a little bit unusual tonight in that I'm going to split the Devar Torah in half. And we're going to do the first half of the Devar Torah right now at the very beginning of service, and then we'll do a second half of the Devar Torah in the middle of the service. And you'll see why I split it as we go forward. So tonight's Torah, or this week's Torah portion is Balak. And Balak is the name of a person. He happens to be not such a good person. He's actually a rather evil king of the Moabites. And I find it interesting that we'll name our Torah portions after the first important word in the portion, even if that word is the name of a bad person. That's the name we've assigned to this Torah portion this week, is Balak. Balak was this king of the Moabites. The Israelites are traveling through the land of Moab. They're not bothering anybody. They're just traveling through the land on their way from Egypt to the Promised Land. And they're not really causing any kinds of trouble, but the king of Moab wants them destroyed anyway. And he decides to get the rabble against the Israelites. And he does this by hiring this prophet to come and say nasty things about the Israelites. The prophet he hires is by the name of Balaam. And Balaam gets hired by Balak, and he goes to curse the Israelites, but he warns the king in advance. He says, I'm going to say whatever comes out of my mouth when I get there. I'm not going to plan this in advance. God's just going to put words in my mouth. I'm a prophet. God's just going to put words in my mouth, and we'll see what comes out. So he sees the Israelite encampment, and he goes to curse them, and he opens his mouth, and out of his mouth comes the words, Matovu ohalecha Yaakov. Matovu. How wonderful are the tents of Jacob, the dwelling places of Israel. Mishkenotecha Yisrael, the dwelling places of Israel. And so that is in this week's Torah portion. And so I'd like to lead off tonight's service with Matovu. The particular musical setting we're going to use for Matovu tonight was written by Jeff Klepper. Jeff Klepper is a contemporary cantor. He happens to have been, his very first job out of cantorial school was at Temple Shereth Israel in Ridgefield, Connecticut, which is the synagogue that Joan and I were members of for 20 some odd years in Ridgefield, Connecticut, after Jeff Klepper was already gone. But this melody is ingrained in the memory of the people of Temple Shereth Israel, and that will become important to the second part of the Devar Torah story later today. So please join us for Matovu. It's on page 192 of the prayer book, the Mishkan Tefillah prayer book. If you have it, page 192. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov chasdecha avo beitecha eshtachaveh el heichal kodshecha vayiratecha. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. So in my haste to jump right into services and introduce Matovu, and I really wanted to get to singing that, I forgot to do a couple things. And the first thing I forgot to do was thank Laura for being up here and singing with me tonight. The rabbi is away. As you can tell, the rabbi's not here. If we haven't met, my name's Ken Isman. I'm the cantor, cantorial soloist.
And I'm Laura Murray.
And so I put the word out to some members of the congregation and asked them if they'd like to help out. And Laura said, absolutely, I'd like to help out. So she came up and she's going to be doing this with me tonight. So thank you for that. And I apologize for not introducing you before we started. So our next thing to do will be to light the candles and do the Kiddush and well, the Kiddush, which includes a couple of parts. But Merv, would you like to light the candles as well as doing the Kiddush tonight? Would you like to come up and help? That was such an enthusiastic wave. Please come up.
You learn never to ask, would you like to? Because then you'll hear either yes or no.
Oh, do we have matches?
Matches.
Yes,
They're usually hidden.
it's here.
Oh, you see them there? Oh, there they are. Okay. Challah cover was hiding here.
Do you want to start with as the Shabbat candles?
This is lit before the blessing.
Merva, do you want to start
The
with,
candles are lit before.
really?
Yeah, candles
Aha.
are lit before the blessing.
You can light them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. whichever you like.
Okay. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And if you turn to page 123 in the prayer book, we have the Kiddush there.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maseh bereshit ki hu yom tehillah lemikrai kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'charta v'otanu kidarshta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha b'yahava u'vratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh hashabbat. Amen.
Just smell it. He doesn't drink.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we turn to page, I didn't write page numbers down. This is terrible of me. Adonai Oz is,
Not positive on that.
it's a part of Psalm, it is a part of Psalm 95, I thought. Oh, that's 98.
Okay, well, people will have to wing it, maybe.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't, there we go, 137, yep, I found it the same time you did, thank you.
Yes.
Page 137, the last two lines in Hebrew, Adonai Oz. Come on.
There we go.
Adonai Oz le'amo yitain Adonai yivarech et amo Adonai Oz le'amo yitain Adonai yivarech et amo Adonai Oz le'amo yitain
let's turn to page 138, and we will do Lecha Dodi, which kind of brings to a conclusion this Kabbalat Shabbat, this introduction to Shabbat that we're going to, that we are experiencing this evening. We're going to do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to verse 9, this whole piyut, this is not a prayer and this is not a song, it's a piyut. It's kind of in the style of things that are from the Torah and from the Hebrew Bible. But it was written by Shlomo Alkabetz roughly 600 years ago or so. And 500 years ago or so. And it's all about treating Shabbat like a bride. And treating we're going to be welcoming Shabbat into our hearts and into our lives and into our next 24 hours of our experience. And we're going to welcome Shabbat like we would welcome a bride. And so when a bride walks into the room at her wedding, you stand up and you turn towards the bride. So we're going to all pretend that there's a bride called Shabbat coming in when we get to verse 9. We're going to rise and we're going to face the door. And usually right about that time, somebody walks in. And they will just be embarrassed that we're all standing there looking at them, welcoming them like the Shabbat bride. So we'll do that when we get to verse 9, and we will try and keep you updated to where we are. We're going to use a rather upbeat tempo melody for this today.
La 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 lecha dodi, la 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 likrat kala, la 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 pnei Shabbat, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor, v'dibor echad, Ishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shemu tiferet v'litila. La 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 likrat kala, la 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 pnei Shabbat, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Verse 2. Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'milcha, ki b'kol Havracha, Berosh Mikedem Nesucha, Sof Maaseh B'machshava Techila. La 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 lecha dodi, la 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 likrat kala, la 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 pnei Shabbat, pnei Shabbat nikabela.
On to verse 5.
Hitoreri
turn towards the entrance.
Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha, uv'tzola. Toch emunei, am segula. Boi kala, boi kala. Ya la la, ya la 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 lecha dodi. Ya la 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 likrat kala. Ya la 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 pnei Shabbat, pnei Shabbat dekabela.
Okay, and that conveniently gets us to our feet where we are and should be for the Barchu on page 146. So we remain standing.
Lai, 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 lai,
And let's see, page 147, there's a beautiful reading there. The bottom of the page, let's all read this together. O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthermost star. We yearn to reach you. We seek the light and warmth of your presence. Though we say you are near, we are lonely and alone. Oh, let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight. Let your light release our darkness and reveal the glory and joy of your presence. Page 152, the watchword of our faith. So important, they wrote it across 2 pages of the prayer book.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Vaed.
And with that, you can be seated. Page 154, and I'm just going to put my guitar down for a moment. I've learned that resting it on my back is not such a good idea.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shiftecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'rikem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem emet. On page 157, one of my favorite English readings in the book at the top of page 157. Let's all read this together as well. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. And we shall do that, join hands, join voices in song with Mi Chamocha on the next page, page 158. Tonight we're going to do the Rick Recht version. And so most of the lyric is there on page 158. There is one little part in English that isn't there that Laura and I are just going to go through. And if you've been here and done this with us, you should know it well enough to sing it with us. And if not, just hang in there and we'll be back to the Hebrew that's really recognizable pretty quickly. Let's not do that in that key. Let's do that straight in D. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'edar b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'edar b'kodesh, no ratehi. Like you, Adonai, who is like you, Adonai? Moses and the children crossed the sea, they sang to you with songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Kamocha ne'edar b'kodesh. noticed in that piece that we sing mi chamocha, and then later when we get to that same set of lyrics, we sing mi kamocha. And the rabbis ask, why is it mi chamocha the first time and then mi kamocha the second time? And it matters as to whether there's a dagesh in the kaf or not. At least one teaching trying to explain that is that this is what the Israelites sang when they got to the other end of the Sea of Reeds, when the Pharaoh's army was coming down on them and God splits the Sea of Reeds and the Israelites cross on dry land. But when the Israelites first stepped into the water, this is how the teaching goes at least. I don't know that anybody wrote this down at the time, but when the Israelites first stepped into the water, the sea didn't part right away. They had to get a bunch of them got into the water and were kind of wading in, and they were kind of praying that God would part the water for them. And the water got up to their chests and got up to their necks and got up towards their mouths. And they had to say mi chamocha to get the water out of their mouths. And then as the sea parted, they could say mi kamocha on the way, because it really should have a dagation. It should be mi kamocha. But they had to say mi chamocha to get the water out of their mouths as they were crossing the Sea of Reeds. That was the explanation I heard from my rabbi when I was a kid. So, what can we say? Where are we? I was distracted by that. Page 164. And again, we have our Amidah, which is literally our standing prayer. Please rise, starting on page 164, and then we'll go to 166 and 68 and 170, and I'll try and call out as we go by. So, Adonai sefartai tiftachu fi agi tehilatecha. Page 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah v'Elohei Rachel Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot Umevi Gdula Lifnei Bneihem Leman Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Abraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Page 168. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia Morid Hatal Mechakel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech noflim verofei cholim umatir asurim umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'el givurot umidom elach melech meimi Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hakol. Page 170. Kadosh v'shimcha kadosh Ukiroshim b'chol yom yahalu chasela Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Page 173, and I'm just looking, you know what, we can be seated. And on page 173, let's read the bottom of the page, And let's all read this together as well. Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency, make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietness which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat of bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai, deny us the false Shabbat which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. We wrap up this portion of the service with a prayer for peace. On page 178, the evening prayer for peace is Shalom Rav, and this setting for Shalom Rav was also written by Jeff Klepper, sitting at the piano that was in our synagogue in Temple Shereth Israel back in Connecticut. How about we do this in D, the way it's written? Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Etov beinecha Okay. We've come to a part in the service that's unique to this congregation. I have prayed in many, many places all over the country, and I've never done this until I came here, where we share a little bit of community. And I forgot again to grab a microphone so I can wander out into the congregation. So bear with me while I grab a microphone. Get it open to get it on. There we go. Test, test. No, it's on mute. Test, test, test. No, it's not coming through. It says it's on. The battery's on. Test. Okay, so you know what? We'll just do it from up here. So what we do here is it's a time to share
amongst our community to share some good things that have happened in your life this week. Share with us, and we will congratulate you for good things that have happened. And after we do that, go around the room, then we'll also share some names of some folks that need some help and need some healing. So mix a little bit of the good with the bad. But we'll start with the good. So does anyone have anything good that happened for them this week that they would like to share with us? And I saw your hand right up first, so share.
This week was my first week of summer camp, and I am an assistant instructor for the Taekwondo classes.
Okay, an assistant instructor. So what kind of camp is it? Is this like just a general camp? Or is it focused on anything specific?
Kim's Karate, it's more of a general camp, but it's in the place that she takes Taekwondo. So they have a lot of martial arts stuff going on in the day.
Okay, so yeah, keep the kids busy with some martial arts. And you're an assistant instructor. Wonderful. Cool. So we have an assistant instructor at a summer camp. Other joys to share.
Yesterday was our daughter Jill's 50th birthday.
It's amazing when kids' ages pass yours, isn't it? Wonderful. 50th birthday. Yes.
Yeah, we just got back from seeing our son, who we hadn't seen in a while, in San Francisco, along with his partner and her. We met her parents for the first time. It was a wonderful thing.
Wonderful.
Additionally, she had worked for a while and put on a production of Midsummer Night's Dream. Lord of the Rings. They held it in her backyard with a good audience.
Wow.
Did several shows. It was most impressive.
I've heard of Shakespeare in the Park, but never Shakespeare in my backyard. That's wonderful. That's great. So for trips across the country, for children's 50th birthday, I shouldn't say children's, offspring's 50th birthday, and for assistant instructing at summer camp, can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Other joys. Yes.
I'm a little bit biased, but France won today, so I'm extremely happy. I thought he had Brazil colors for the name. That's not a jersey, is it? And then I also got the green light from my doctor to go ahead and pursue my studies again after 4 years of, I guess, intensive treatment, which I still am, but I moved across 3 states, had about 7 surgeries, so I'm really excited to get back.
Wow, yes. For resumption of life after this terrible interruption. That's a wonderful joy.
Well, it was a joyous interruption because
Okay.
it's giving me the propensity to help others in the program I'm pursuing.
Wow, wonderful. And amazing how those things happen in our lives. Other joys. You always have something to share. Please share with us tonight.
Of course, of course. So I was painting downtown 3 days ago. Someone who walked by was actually one of the painters that works at the paint premiere downtown. And now he's mentoring me. So found a painting mentor.
Wow. So for finding a painting mentor, wonderful. Other joys. Laura, you have a joy?
My joy is being here with you tonight on the pavement. It's
Wonderful.
very exciting.
So for having Laura here, for painting mentors, for continuing life's journeys, can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Other joys before we move on. I don't want to shut anybody down. Wonderful. So now we move on to those folks that need some healing, and I do this a little bit differently from the rabbi, but we have a list of members of the congregation who are in need of healing this evening. Chuck Anthony, Lily Rubenstein, Linda Block, Jack Blum, Allison Herman, Steve McCarrow, Gwyn Walkoff,
David Becker and Jay Waddle. And I apologize if I've said anyone's name incorrectly. I'll do the best I can with what I've got here. And now I'll look around the congregation, and if there's anyone that you would like to say a healing prayer for this evening, we'll say their names, and then we'll sing Debbie Friedman's Mishabera. So anyone, as my eyes meet yours, if you want to call out for healing.
It's not quite healing, but it's a blessed wish to my niece. She's about to have her first baby, and I ask Yahweh to watch over her during this time.
Absolutely.
Sean Nash and Diller. Jody on the Tiffin.
Ian Menzies.
Steve McCarroll.
If you would like the words to Debbie Friedman's Mishaberach, they're on page 371 in your prayer book. So page 371, and I just need to get my music back up because my... Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And now just a few moments of silent prayer and the thoughts that may come into you, pop into your mind this night. You won't find it on the earthquake, you won't find it on the storm, you won't find it in the crashing of the waves upon the shore. You'll only find it in the silence, God's own whispered word, the still small voice is heard. The still small voice is heard. To hear the entire story of that song, you have to come back next week, because it's actually tied to next week's Haftarah portion. But that's a next week story.
I need to continue now. This is part 2 of the Devar Torah that I started earlier this evening. So remember, we started earlier this evening with me talking about how Jeff Klepper wrote this setting for Ma Tovu that's become so popular at Temple Shereth Israel in Ridgefield, Connecticut back in the 1970s when he was a young cantor there. So I have a trivia question for you, and the answer is actually already have been in the discussion, so we'll see how well folks have been paying attention. So, does anybody know the name of the first congregation in the area we now call the United States? It happened in early 1600s. It was before it was the United States. Yeah, so if you have the little sheets of paper, then I apologize that there weren't enough of them. I really thought this was going to be a sparsely attended service, so thank you for proving me wrong. But if you have these sheets of paper, you'll see that the title of this song that I wrote that is here is Shereth Israel. That was the name of the first congregation, and I think I heard it coming from over here, and Ned was correct. It's from New Amsterdam colony. The story of that congregation is that they were a bunch of Jews that fled persecution in Spain and went to what was then Dutch territory in what is now Brazil. And then when the Portuguese took over that territory in Brazil, they kicked all the Jews out and said, you can't stay here. And they sailed up the coast of South America and then Central America and North America trying to find a place to land. And they tried to land in Charleston, South Carolina, and the English kicked them out and said, no, you can't stay. And they tried to land in Virginia, and the English kicked them out and said, no, you can't stay. And they went up to New Amsterdam, where the Dutch were, in what is now Manhattan, and they asked if they could stay, and Peter Stuyvesant, who wasn't particularly nice to Jewish people, recognized, though, that his Dutch bosses back in Holland were very much inclined to help out the Jews and had taken in many of the Jews that had fled the Iberian Peninsula in 1492. So he allowed them to stay. He wrote back to the folks in Holland asking them if it was okay for the Jews to stay, and got word back. Of course, that exchange took months, but got word back that yes, the Jews were allowed to stay and start a congregation. So they named their congregation Shereth Israel, which is where our congregation in Connecticut stole the name from that first congregation. But Shereth Israel, the translation of those Hebrew words is the remnant of Israel. And you think about what the word remnant means. It means when something beautiful has been broken down into many different pieces, and you're left with pieces of something that was once whole and beautiful. So they named themselves the remnant of Israel. And where did they get the idea for that? They got the idea from this week's Haftarah portion. So it's not often that we talk about the Haftarah. Usually this is a bit of word of Torah, but I really like this Haftarah this week. And so the folks got the name. Now the first words of this Haftarah this week come from the book of Micah. And the book of Micah is not a big book. It's one of the smaller books. Micah was a prophet, but he didn't write a whole lot, so it's one of the smaller books of the Torah. But this particular portion from the book of Micah starts out, She'erit Yaakov Bekerev Amim Rabim, which is the first line of the song that I wrote there. She'erit Yaakov. So it wasn't quite Shereth Israel. Shereth Israel is kind of an English version of the word She'erit. And it's not Israel, but it's Yaakov. So Yaakov was Jacob, just to make sure everyone's following along here. So Jacob is Abraham's grandson, and Jacob is the one who has lots of sons, 12 of which become the 12 tribes of Israel, become the heads of the 12 tribes of Israel. But there's a part in the Torah where Jacob wrestles with an angel. It's way up in Genesis. We read it during September usually in our reading of the Torah. And this angel, after Jacob kind of wrestles this angel to a draw,
The angel says, you have wrestled with me and survived, and therefore we're going to change. God says we're going to change your name from Jacob to Israel. And forevermore your name shall be Israel. And that's the way the Torah should be written. After that, every time you read his name in the Torah, it should be Israel, right? Because God says, forevermore your name shall be Israel. Except what do? Right on the next page of the Torah, they go back to calling him Jacob. And I asked a rabbi about that once. I said, that really bothers me. It says right here, his name is changed to Israel. Why do they still call him Jacob? And the rabbi just shrugged and said, we think it's because there were many different people who wrote this thing down that we call the Torah. Okay, that's not a great answer in my mind, but it's the answer the rabbi gave. So when I wrote this song, and when the people of the first congregation that called themselves Shearith Israel, when they went to name their synagogue, they decided not to name it She'erit Yaakov, even though that's the words that are there in this book of Micah. They chose to use the name Israel. So Shearith Israel is taken from this piece of the book of the prophet Micah that starts out She'erit Yaakov. So what does the rest of the Hebrew mean? Bekerev Amim Rabim. The rest of that says, will be scattered among the many peoples, is the direct translation of that. Bekerev is to scatter or will be scattered. Amim are people, a plural, different groups of peoples. And Rabim just means lots of. So they'll be scattered amongst lots of people. So Micah is prophesizing. He's looking into the future and saying, this is what God told me. The Jewish people are not going to stay one group of people in the land of Canaan that they settled. They are going to be scattered amongst all the nations of the world. And the rest of this Torah portion goes on to talk about how the Jewish people will still survive. They will still keep the Jewish rules and traditions and customs. They will still thrive among the nations. They will be, and it uses symbolism, they will be like stars in the night sky. They will be like shattered pieces of light that spread across the sky and give light to other nations. They will be like dew on the grass, scattered out across a vast territory, and yet still there and still providing incredibly important water and sustenance to people. And they will eventually overcome all of their enemies. The rest of the Haftarah portion gets rather bitter, and not bitter, but graphic and violent about how the Jewish people will overcome all of their enemies. And then it wraps up with this very famous phrase. This Haftarah wraps up with this really famous phrase, what is it that God asks of me? And really just three things are the answer: to seek justice and love mercy and walk humbly with God is the final wrap-up words of this Haftarah portion. So I took all of that symbolism and those lyrics, and I wrote this song. And so we're going to do the song for you. You've got the song sheet there if you'd like to sing along. The melody is really simple. You'll catch on as soon as we start doing it. I've got to wake up my... So, Shearith Israel. Oh, and by the way, I wrote this sitting at the same piano that Jeff Klepper sat at writing that version of Ma Tovu. I was doing it one night. Joan and I were both active on different committees in the synagogue. She was in a committee meeting. I was in a committee meeting. My meeting ended early. I had to wait for her. So sitting at this piano waiting for Joan, flipping through a Chumash looking for inspiration, came across this and wrote this piece. She'arit Yaakov, She'ereth Israel, Bekerev Amim Rabim, remnant of the house of Jacob, traveled far. We've raised the bar among the nations. Shall reach Yaakov, Shearith Israel, the Kerev, Ami, Rabbi, like drops of dew on morning grass, reflecting light to those that pass. We find each other, sisters and brothers, among the nations. And so what is it God asks of me? To seek justice and love mercy, and to walk humbly with my God among the nations. Shall reach Yaakov, Shearith Israel, the Kerev, Ami, Rabbi, the Kerev, Ami, Okay, so we come to our concluding prayers now. Page 586, Aleinu. And let's go ahead and open the ark. And ask everyone to stand, please. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Thank you, and you may be seated. We turn to page 598, and at this point in time, I always think at this point in the service, I always think about some words from a song that Bob Seger wrote probably 50 or 60 years ago. Bob Seger wrote, "Sometimes at night I see their faces, and I feel the traces they've left on my soul. And those are the memories that make me a wealthy soul. Those are the memories that make me a wealthy soul." And at this point in our service, we remember those people who are no longer with us, but their memories make us wealthy souls. And so I think that's just such an appropriate introduction for this. And why can't I find, it's 598.
598.
And I just just can't.
You were going in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Okay, got there. So we remember those folks whose memories make us wealthy souls. We remember people who have passed away from our community very recently, who are still in their families, and then the congregation is still in the 30 days mourning period for John Hogarth. I'm sorry, I pronounced it incorrectly. It's actually here for me. Hogarth, John Hogarth, and Frank Mugavero, who I understand was a long-standing member of Nashira. I'm sorry I never got the chance to sing with him, but I'm told was a wonderful, long-standing member of Nashira. So they're fairly recent. And then for those people who have passed away in this week in years past, Thelma Lenro, Adele Schwartz, Nettie Driller, Adela Abramovitz, Brad Cohen, Gary Cohen, Lois Resnick Sachs, Ava Rosenbaum Felt, Emmanuel Teller, Merle Fox, Gertrude Tauber, Joy Thorson Bernhardt, Doris Fisher, Faith Gaber, Marion Sweet, and there's no second page tonight, which is wonderful. And if you're remembering someone this evening, someone who's passed away at this season in years past, or recently, or someone that you're just thinking of this evening, if you'd like to say their name, as my eyes scan the congregation and meet yours, you're welcome to say their name aloud as well. And so, I forgot to ask those to rise who may have been observing the yahrzeit or their memory of one of the people's names I've read, but if you would like to stand now and say the Kaddish prayer in the names of those people we've named, or in support of those people of the names we have named, please rise and join me on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, B'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'maru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivorach leolam ulmeo maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'reichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran bi'alma v'maru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'maru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'maru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who are in mourning, and let us all say, Amen. Thank you, and you can be seated. We have a few announcements, and then we'll do a motzi over our wonderful challah here, and then we'll do a concluding song. Announcements. The Hineni Committee will be presenting Breath-Centered Gentle Yoga with Lou Shapiro coming up on July 12th. We've been announcing this since at least April, so hopefully you've heard about it by now. If you'd like to join in, they do need an RSVP. Look in the weekly email for more information on it, and do RSVP if you'd like to come to that. The summer potluck has been changed. It was originally sometime in early or mid-July, but it has been moved to Friday, July 31st, beginning at 6 o'clock here. The doors will actually open at like 5:45. Come, bring some food and share some laughter, and we'll have a wonderful service after it. But it'll be a wonderful potluck dinner, and you can decide what you want to bring and share, but there'll be some wonderful food there, I'm sure.
And Joan and I will bring some wonderful pasta dish, I think, that we're gonna make. So, bring some food and come and join us. Online dues renewal continues for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. So if you'd like a hard copy mailed to you, please email Penny in the office and see the weekly email for more information. There's lots of stuff going on, even though it's summer. And as I used to say at all the congregations I've been in, summer is not a time when things shut down. I know people think it gets slower, and it does get a little bit slower without the Hebrew school in session and people going on vacation, but there's still lots going on here. So come and join us. And in fact, let me throw in a plug for the Shabarbecue, which is August 28th. You'll want to come to that, and make sure you register early, because last year it sold out. So, put that on your calendars as well. So we have motzi tonight. Marianne, would you like to come up and do motzi for us?
Okay, do I say the prayer first and then?
You can kind of rip it while you're saying the prayer.
Oh,
But
okay.
would you like us to start the prayer with you, or you want to?
Yes.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Wonderful. You're welcome to take a bite if you like.
Oh, thank you.
And you're welcome to grab some too if you like. I can't eat challah, so it's terrible. It looks wonderful, but
It is.
And so our concluding song is going to be Shir HaMa'alot, which you just might know as Shabbat Shalom. It does appear in the prayer book, but I forgot to write down the page. But I'm sure it's here. It's I'm sure it's here, but it's not in the index. Anyway, it's an easy song. Everyone will be able to sing along with it.
Oh, everybody knows the words
Everybody
to this.
knows it. So you might know it as Shabbat Shalom. We did this in this key.
Okay.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach, Shir HaMa'alot, Veshuv Adonai, et Shivat Zion, Ha'inu Ketomim, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And
Shalom.
please join us for an oneg in the lobby.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you to Laura for leading the service with me. You were wonderful. Okay.
Do we want to shut this?